Heather Anderson from Pine Mill Fiber and Farm. Welcome to my little corner online where I like to share mostly a lot of my creative things like knitting and spinning, some on sheep, some on wool, sometimes on homesteading, perhaps a little bit on homemaking from a Christian perspective. I am so excited to be with you guys today. So I don't have any spinning. We're going to take a little break from the Spinning Through the Flock series. I do know exactly what I'm going to work on next with you guys on that, but I have so many projects right now that I'm excited about, and I don't want to force myself just for the sake of these videos to, you know, get out of my creativity, I guess you might say. So let's dive into projects. Let's start with spinning because I spun a lot of yarn the last couple weeks. I realized a couple things about myself in this process, and I think there's always this temptation when you do creative things to look around you and see what others are making and see what others are doing. And yes, it's fun to draw inspiration from that, but sometimes you can take that and kind of feel like you have to mimic their style or their philosophy behind their craft. And I'm finding that just doesn't work for me. Like, I have become more clear on what I enjoy making, why, and being okay with saying no to a lot of other beautiful things and like creative things that, you know, maybe someday I would love to make them, but for now in this season of my life, it's not realistic, okay? So I am not like a pro knitter by any stretch of the imagination, and I had this realization while I was working on my daughter's sweater the other day, because I was doing a new construction to me. It was bottom up, and it just had some different design elements in it, which I appreciate that there's so many amazing designers out there and that they're pushing knitters to do things outside of their comfort zone. But right now in this season of my life, it's like I really don't have any quiet time, very rarely throughout the day, because I have 7 kids and ages 16 through 14 months. And because we homeschool, like really the only quiet time I possibly have in the day, and this isn't even every day, is like from 11 o'clock to midnight. And I am too tired to really like challenge my brain on a knitting pattern at that time of day. And you know what, I have to just embrace that's my season of life right now. And so as I was working on her sweater, and then I got to a new part that I didn't know how to do, and I was like, okay, I could call my sister who's really great at knitting, and she can help me decipher patterns really easily. But she also doesn't live near me, so I have to like get on the phone with her and have her, you know, try to explain to her what I'm doing, and it's just. And then by the time I can actually sit down to actually knit it, I may have already forgotten what she explained, or I may have, like, this isn't me making excuses. This is me being really realistic with how much extra time I have in my day right now. And it made me realize why I enjoy, like, monotonous knitting so much is because right now it's very practical. I have so many people that I can knit for just in my own immediate family, like so many actual needs, like not even like fluffy fun projects, but things that they could actually, like hats, mittens, socks, sweaters, just very practical and basic items that I could be making. And I have to be like, dial it back sometimes and be like, why do I enjoy this craft so much? It's because it's creative and it's practical. So if I take the practical out of this, it doesn't feed me the same way. And you may come to knitting and spinning from a totally different place, but I love that how utilitarian this craft is. I love that it's something tactical that like I can touch, but also it's not just something I hang on my wall and admire. Like, I actually put it on my body and it keeps me warm. It has a purpose. It, you know, it's, I don't know, there's something to that, I think, and that's why a lot of people are attracted to wool and to knitting and to spinning. But anyways, I divulged. So a lot of my projects, so I thought today, you know what, instead of going into spinning and starting a new project, I want to talk with you guys about some of my works that I'm making and like the philosophy behind them. And maybe this will resonate with you, maybe not, but I just thought, you know what, sometimes it's helpful to have, to like flush out your ideas and like, I don't know, I can tend to like, I love casting on a new project, but do I need to have 12 casted on projects? Like, am I going to finish them? It's not realistic for my lifestyle right now, so I have to be kind of finding that fine balance between creativity and practicality. Like, there has to be a middle ground, right? So I guess this is my little podcast into exploring what that middle ground might look like. For someone like me who has a very busy schedule, who maybe doesn't have a lot of extra brain space to take on, it's not that I don't have the brain space. I wouldn't say I don't have the brain space, but the time to implement what I'm learning, right? Because it's something that requires so much concentration, at least for my brain. It requires a lot of concentration. And if I don't have that space in my day to really concentrate on implementing what I'm learning, I feel like I'm just like a hamster in a wheel, not really getting anywhere. And like, sorry, I'm gonna keep adjusting my glasses because they busted and I had to tape them. So it's just interesting, like, figuring these things out about yourself, because it can be such like a no-brainer thing, but I'm like, why didn't I like accept this earlier? I feel like it would have made my life easier. So, okay, I guess maybe what I'll do, instead of doing separate segments for spinning and knitting, is we'll just kind of wrap it all together, because a lot of the things that I spun this past week, I'm going to start working on, or have already started working on. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is this, and this is such an example of the type of thing that I love to make, and this is all hand spun yarn. I think I showed you these yarns in a different episode. These are all hand spun, and these are all yarns, or this is all fiber that I got off of my own farm. So these are all from our own sheep, and obviously you can see I dyed pretty much all of it. There's a little bit of it left natural, and it's super scrappy and super fun. This is going to be for my 15-month-old, and he's a big boy, so I'm a little nervous that it's a little on the small side, but I did make the size 2 years, and I sort of wish I'd gone up one size. I know it's going to fit him now, I just don't know how long it will fit him for. But it's motivation to get it done faster, right? So this pattern is called the Elwood Sweater by Jennifer Wiebe, I want to say her name is. And it's a cardigan, but it's going to have, like, it's going to look like a cute old grandpa sweater. So it has like that shawl collar, and I'm going to put some big buttons on it. So it's going to look like an old grandpa sweater. And I'm just using all these scrap hand spun yarns that I had, and I don't know if you can see all the colors and the textures, but it is so cute. And I'd say it's about like a DK to light worsted. But I love it. The one thing I changed in the pattern so far is that I used a size, I tend to be a pretty loose knitter, so I used a size 4 needle for the body, and then my sleeves end up always coming out to a much tighter gauge, because I guess when I'm just doing knit compared to knit and purl, I'm a lot tighter of a knitter, so I switched to size 5 needles for the sleeve, and that is working out. It's still a little bit tighter, but it's not nearly as bad as it would have been. So yeah, that's a super fun project, and I just started this like a day ago or 2 days ago. So these are the kind of projects that I love because it doesn't take me a lot of brain space to do a raglan sweater. I can use up scraps of yarn that I have in my stash. It's going to be a very practical, usable item when I'm done, and it's, even though it's simple, it's beautiful, right? It's so cute. And like, another thing that I've really discovered is that I really prefer knitting with hand spun yarn. I don't know, I think it's because I like to spin so much, and I'm finally getting okay at it. But I don't know if you can see like how squishy that is. It's so soft and squishy, and just like, it's not perfect by any means, but it's so warm and soft, and it's just delightful. So yeah, that's the main color of the sweater, and then I'm working on all the different, like the different scrappy stripes. So that's a really fun project. Set that aside. So the other things that I spun, well, okay, so I prefer, when I have, let's see, where's this? When I have hand spun yarn, I prefer it to be raw, on-dyed, from the sheep. Like, that's what I love to knit with. However, I like to spin color, right? Sometimes you run into these problems. Like, you like to spin one thing, but you like to knit with something else. So how can I incorporate both, right, into my project so I don't come up with this massive stash of yarn? Because what I realized too is I think I actually enjoy to spin more than I enjoy to knit, at least in this season. So that's kind of a problem, especially if you're a slow knitter like I am, because, or if you don't have a lot of extra time in your day to knit, because all of a sudden you could have this huge stash, which, come on, that's an awesome problem. But it is kind of like, okay, shoot, I want to use this, right? So this yarn, oh, I don't think I showed you guys this. This is the finished yarn from Jade's Wool. It came out way better than I could have ever hoped. It's so soft. I still have some of her fleece left in my shop. It's so soft. It's so squishy. It's so black. Like, there's just a tiny hint of brown in there from her faded tips. But for the most part, it's so dark black. And it's pretty balanced. It's just because it's so springy. Like, it's so elastic and so soft. I know I could just gush on and on about this. I loved how it came out. I did say I was going to get more technical with my spinning. That hasn't happened yet. I have some things I want to share with you in the next video that will hopefully move in that direction. But I really like how it came. I told you guys I spun the singles really loose on this, and then I plied rather tightly. And this was with unwashed fiber that I spun. It was completely raw. I hadn't picked it. I guess I had combed it a little. I had combed it into roving, but I hadn't washed the wool. And it's so nice. I'm doing a video, just FYI. Stop. Anyways, he's being a dork again. No, the girls have him upstairs. So that's that. And after I finished this, I was like, what am I going to make with this? It's so juicy. Okay, so as I was saying, I like to spin color, but I like to knit with my own wool. So what do you do? Because I don't want to... this was all dyed off of my own sheep, but it's fun to have that. The yarn that is spun in color and has all the colors like so blended in. So what I did is I bought a big bulk batch of Corriedale non-superwash roving. So this is, I don't have any of the raw, it's really good stuff. It's not the softest, but the way I spun it, it still came out incredibly soft. It's not quite as soft as this. This is like, ah, and this is like, ah. I don't know how to explain it. It's super, like, it's next to skin soft. It was 28 microns, but I would have no problem wearing this next to my skin. It doesn't feel itchy at all. But anyways, so I bought a big box of Roving, and I'm thinking about dyeing up a little bit for my shop. I don't know, what do you guys think? But this was one that I dyed up, and then unfortunately, like, this is so cute and I love it. I don't remember how I dyed this. That is kind of a problem when you like to wing things. So then what I ended up doing is, I'll show you some of the stuff. I don't have it all here. Actually, my favorites I don't have here. I don't know where I put them, but here's a fun example of some colors. It is an interesting learning curve. I was using acid dyes, and I was doing a mix of putting them in a kettle and dyeing them like on top of saran wrap. And I don't know, the color is not quite that orange. It's more of a salmon color, but I love it. It's definitely brighter than what I typically like to wear or knit. But I find when you spin these colors, they do mute a lot, just because they tend to blend together then, and like it just dampens down everything. So I'm super curious what this would like look like spun up, but I think I'm going to resist and put this in my shop. What do you guys think? Is anyone interested in that? And then I'm going to do, here's another example of another color. This would be a little similar, but not quite the same thing. This is a purple, mainly purple with bits of pink and blue in it. And it's so pretty. So this is the same Corriedale Roving that I dyed. Acid dyes. I think I used Dharma's acid dyes for these. And I usually just stick with the primary colors when I dye. I don't buy a lot of dye. I just stick with the 3 primary colors and I mix them to get the shades that I want. Okay, so when I finish spinning this, I always have like a little tiny ball of something that needs to go with something, so it doesn't just end up being wasted. So I ended up putting it with a little ball of this, and I got this, which is really pretty. It just kind of makes the colors look a little more distinct against the black. And so I have, so then I'm like, okay, now I have this, like, what should I make, right? And then so the sweater that I really want to rip out because I can't figure it out and I don't have the energy and the time and the brain space for my daughter, I'm like, will you be sad if I rip this sweater out and make you a shawl instead? And she's like, no. So then I dyed and spun these. I know I spun a ton of yarn in the last couple weeks. I dyed and spun these, and these came out, the color's pretty true in the camera. These came out brighter than I was hoping. Like, this is a little closer to what I was going for. This is darker than what I was going for, but they're still super pretty. She wants like a big shawl that she could wear as a more of a blanket. So I thought, what about putting these all together and making a big shawl? So what do you guys think? I'm excited to cast this on, but I'm trying to finish a sweater before I cast that on. The only other thing I wanted to show you guys and talk about real quick is my quilt, which I should have taken this out of here so you don't have to listen to the bag rattle. Let's see if I can find the square that I actually finished. So my goal with my quilting was to finish the 2 quilts from my big boys before it was time to start my seeds. And it is March 1st tomorrow, which means it is time to start my seeds. And I don't have this quilt ready, but I'm close. I'm trying to find, I had a square in here that was finished to show you guys. But, of course, I should have dug it out earlier. Let's see if I can find it without messing everything up. So what I'm doing is the half triangles. Here it is, maybe. Oh yeah, sorry that took so long. So what I'm doing is the half triangles. So you put two squares on top of each other, and then you can see that you take a pen and put a line corner to corner with your straight edge, and then you sew, you know, a 1/4 inch or whatever your seam allowance is. This isn't really a good example because I wasn't sewed on both sides. Here's one. A 1/4 inch off of each side, and then you cut right here, and then you open this, so you have two blocks, like two half triangle blocks. So that's a cool way to get this block for any kind of pattern you want. But what I'm gonna do is I want to make a real scrappy quilt, and I want to do like a very mismatched color scheme, but kind of stick with blues as the main color, but then have a lot of other colors like kind of mixed in, right? So my idea is to have the light colors facing each other to make sort of a block, and the dark colors, when I sew this to another one, will be together right here, making a dark block like this, but dark colors. So it'll look sort of checkery, but also very scrappy. I'm realizing this quilt top is going to take me a lot longer than the last one I made, because there's so many more squares to cut and sew. I think I have to make 100 of these, which isn't too bad, but then I have to sew them all together, and it's going to take some time. But anyways, I'm excited about it, but also like, shoot, I didn't get this done before March 1st, so it's going to make getting this done before summer, like I was hoping, a little trickier, because now it's almost time to start seeds. And in my mind, I know I wasn't planning on getting into my garden on this video, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit because I'm going to do another video on my seed starting soon. Last year I grew a lot of flowers. I made bouquets. I sold bouquets just here and there. It was super fun. I probably paid for all my seeds and then some. I sold some sunflowers to the local grocery store. That was super fun. I don't know if I'm going to do bouquets again unless I just have people reach out to me here and there who hear me. I don't think I'm going to actively market my bouquets. I don't think I'm going to do the farmer's market, because just looking how busy my baby is right now, he's going to be even busier this summer when he's faster at walking. And my husband works full time. We're building our house. There's only so much time in the day. So, however, I do still want to grow flowers, and I do like to go big or go home. So I am thinking of growing just a select amount of flowers actually for the seed. So to harvest a seed crop off of them, and to be able to sell and barter that seed with other flower farmers, because I love growing flowers, and I also love growing vegetables, but it doesn't pay for me to try to grow vegetables to sell, because our family is so big that we eat all that we can grow at this point. So I'd prefer to grow our food for ourselves and then do something with the flowers. That's fun. I'm just keep playing with this because it's so cute. So anyways, maybe in the next video I will go into some seed starting stuff and talk about what varieties I'm going to do, what my plan is with my garden. I say plan loosely because things change, but what it is as of now. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know if you guys are interested in that. It's kind of a whole other topic than knitting, but I do feel they go hand in hand. It's all about creating a house where you are feeling so at home at, and I love to have hobbies that I can do from home. It's so easy to do them compared to ones where you have to leave the house and haul all the kids out with you or find a babysitter. I really like to be home with my kids pretty much 24/7. I mean, it's fun going out and doing things because they need it, but like, I would be happy being home all the time because I love all this stuff. Yeah, I hope that gives you some insight into my philosophy behind my knitting and my spinning. I didn't get into very technical things with the spinning, and I didn't spin with you today, but next time I'm on, we're going to be talking either gardening or spinning, and the next spinning video I do, we're going to spin Grace's wool, and I already have a project in my mind that I want to use with that, so that's kind of fun because it will challenge me to spin exactly what I'm targeting. I want to knit some wool pants for my baby with that hand spun wool that we're going to make in the next episode. So I hope you'll subscribe if you want to see more of this, just to be aware of when I post another video. And yeah, feel free to leave me a comment, you know, what you're interested in seeing more of, any questions that you might have. What's your philosophy when it comes to knitting or spinning? I'm really curious how others, you know, come to choose projects, because what I'm realizing is there is a lot of projects to choose from, and you can't do it all, at least not all at once. So how do you decide what projects like excite you and motivate you to actually complete? Because it's fun to get excited about a project, but it's nice to actually finish them. So I hope you enjoyed this short video, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.